Hey everybody, it's Daphne at Laura Entertainment. We are sitting down with Jeff. I don't want to mess up your last name. Is it Karantza?
Karantza, yes.
Yes, I got it. And we are doing the interviews with soldiers segment. How are you doing, Jeff?
Good. How are you?
I'm there. It's Christmas, crazy shit. So let me ask you this. Tell us a little bit about your program that you have.
So I have a nonprofit in Georgia called Onset Soldiers, and the concept of it was built around, giving back in some way to the community and the community around. With Atlanta being a huge film community and having multiple military bases, in the area in the southeast, it was, how can I give back something to veterans? And at the time I was working for, I think I just finished working for Marvel and working on Black Panther. And I was like, well, you know what? I've got so many contacts in the industry. Why don't I do some kind of film training? Because over the years that I've done it here in Atlanta, some of the best people that I've worked with, whether it be AD department or props or set deck, were all former military. So I was like, well, you know what? I can use my contacts and the platform that I have with my casting to be able to do something and create a training program for that. So Onset Soldiers is basically, it's a two kind of chapter deal where we create a training program that's free to veterans through sponsors and grants if we can get grants. We do 4 to 6 weeks of training in all departments. And then while the training's happening, we're prepping an actual project. So at the end of training, they go straight to set and they get on the job training with people that work in the industry that can hire them on future projects.
Cool. That is definitely cool. I know a lot of actors actually that have been in the military. They make awesome actors.
Oh yeah, fantastic crew and cast.
Yeah. I went ahead the other day and added your the link for this actually is in the resource link that is up on the pages for lore. Definitely. So how long have you been doing this?
The nonprofit itself has been open. I want to say we're coming up on 4 years. We started it right before COVID happened. So we had done a couple things. We did a Thanksgiving kind of food event where we had friends and people in the community helped us to cook. I think we did like 20 turkeys, all kinds of sides and stuff, and we're creating like individual meals for people. We had, and at one point we had a take a veteran fishing tournament that we were scheduling, and then COVID started. So
Oh,
everything within breathing distance was basically canceled. So we hit a real big roadblock with that, with the COVID part, because everything that we did was face to face.
yeah.
So not having the ability to do anything face to face, it wasn't worth it to continue to go after sponsors, because we had sponsorships from Walmart and a number of other places that found value in what we were trying to do. But at that point, I couldn't keep going back to the sponsors saying, "Oh, we need more money for this program," because we couldn't do the programs.
Yeah.
So we're rebooting it, we're restarting it now that we seem to have, kind of gotten over that hurdle, and trying to see if we can attract some big corporate sponsors so that we can do some real big projects, anywhere from a couple 100,000 to 1 million or two.
So you were in yourself, right?
I did. I was Air Force for a few years and worked at security forces in Texas.
You didn't fly?
I went in to be a helicopter pilot, and my eyesight was 20/25 in one eye, so I didn't qualify at the time. And I had the typical horror story with the recruiter, basically filling my head full of nonsense just to get me to sign on the dotted line. And I worked in college. I worked at a place called Office Max. Excuse me. And we had a fighter wing that was right in St. Louis, and the pilots used to come in every once in a while, and they're like, "Oh, you should have just gone and gotten a waiver, and gotten LASIK." And I was like, "Well, I was told that wasn't available," and they're like, "Yeah, no, it's definitely been available for years." So I ended up
They
doing security
bullshitted you.
forces. Yeah, pretty much. That's a typical recruiter story. And when I got back from, because we had some time off between tech and our station, so I had 2 weeks. I walked back in the recruiting office, and the gentleman that was in there, the officer that ran that office looked out his window and came out and said, "You need to come with me," and pulled me into his office. He says, "It looks like you're getting ready to do something really bad. So tell me what's going on." And I went through the whole spiel, hazing in boot camp, and just all kinds of stuff. It was he. I just wanted to go and look the guy in the eye that lied to me and tell him what I thought of him. But
Yeah.
it was that was an experience.
Sometimes there's some dirty things going on behind the scenes of the military, but I mean, they get
All in
everybody.
all, it's a
Yeah.
decent career. A lot of
Yeah.
people benefit from it. We, as a nation, we benefit from it, and you can't, you just have to admire anybody that's willing to give up years of their life for service to their country to make us secure. So
Yeah, because if it wasn't for you soldiers, we would not, nobody, I mean, it doesn't even matter if it's in this industry or not in this industry, we would not have the freedom to do it. People need to be a little bit more respectful. That's
for
just
sure.
the way I feel about it. But you also said you came from a big military family. Tell me about the
Yeah,
house
my
growing up.
grandfather actually was a fighter pilot, and he flew. Actually, it's funny because my grandmother sent me some stuff a while back, and he flew with the Tuskegee Airmen, and one of his pilot partners in Lieutenant Daniel Chappie James Jr. My grandfather actually flew with him in the Korean War. And
Wow.
then my uncles, I've got three uncles, two of which one was a cytotechnologist for the military, and then my other uncle was a lieutenant colonel for the Air Force and commanded a missile squadron in Sicily, and has been stationed all over the world doing, running bases, basically being the commanding officer of bases. And then my father was first sergeant in the Air Force, and my mom was a tech sergeant in the Air Force, and then she transitioned over to the Army. So a lot of people in the family were military. Even Alan Bean, the astronaut from NASA, is my cousin.
Wow. That is
So
awesome. So your whole life was growing up basically you were boot camps your whole
a
life.
lot of military, a lot of military rules. The way that we folded our clothes was military spec, and just it wasn't quite as bad. But when I went to boot, I already knew everything that I needed to know to get through the detail part of it. And I even have my own brown tees, the brownish green tees that they issued you because I had those things for years. So,
Wow. See, I've never served, but I still run my house kind of like a boot camp. I did get a school to be
sure.
a police officer though, years ago. Well, I mean, it was years ago. I was going to go into forensics, forensic
Hmm.
psychology, basically to profile serial
Yep.
killers. That was a big thing with me. But when my kids they went into the military, then you sit back and you worry, because you never know what the hell is going to happen in the world. You have no idea, you know.
Right.
And so
I've got
you
a
don't.
son right now that's looking at the military, and he's wanting to be a fighter pilot as well. So it's scary, especially with the way that things are right now. Where what seems like it could be a day away from a war in some region. So
How do you think you'd feel if he joins?
Uh, I mean, I would support the decisions that he's making if that were the case. He's wanting to do his aviation degree program and then go in as an officer, which would be better in a way, but at the same time, I have a hard time, like you were telling me before we started this. You didn't get notified about something with your son, and having
Mhm.
somebody show up at my doorstep and handing me a flag. It's to me, my son's more valuable than that. So it's one of those things where it's hard for me to see him go down that road when he has opportunities, and he really needs to think his decisions through, because that's for that kind of a thing, that's a 10-year commitment versus like an enlisted doing 4.
Yeah.
So he would have, he would do ROTC through college, and he would get his training that way and do a boot probably during the summer after second year of college. um, and it looks like they waive OCS now for ROTC in college, but at the same time, once you're in, you're pretty much wherever they want you. If they want to station you over in the Middle East, you're stationed over in the Middle East, and you
Yeah.
don't really have a whole lot of choice. So, if he does, it's great. If he doesn't, I support him either way, and he could be a great airline pilot as well. So,
Yeah. My son, is in the process of getting out of the army, but with the stipulation of he's re-enlisting into the National Guard, which I don't,
Okay.
I'm not
So he's
really understanding
transitioning from one
why.
to the other.
Yeah, but he said because he's stationed at Fort Hood, so they won't, I guess, deploy, and he
Unless
wants
something
to
severe
deploy.
happens, typically not. Yeah.
Yeah. And when he told me that, I was like, why won't they deploy? He goes, they just don't deploy here. So I'm like, okay. I said, so you're going to get on to where you're going to get shipped off? He's all excited about it. I'm not. He is, because once again, it's your kid, you know?
Right. Well, even if you didn't reenlist in the National Guard, there's still an inactive reserve period where they can call you back.
Yeah.
It used to be 3 years. I don't know if it's the same anymore. I know they've got a lot of ad campaigns going on to get enlisted people because their numbers have dropped severely. So um, by transitioning over, that even may open up bonuses for doing that for him as well. Because that's what mom did. She was active duty for years, and then she went National Guard, so she only had to do drill once a month. Um, and luckily, it was the army base she was stationed at was Camp Keys in Augusta, Maine. So we lived 5 minutes away. So she just drove in one weekend, and then every year they had annual training for 2 weeks, and she would go to Bangor, Maine, and do her annual training.
Wow. How long was your mom in for total?
She retired from the military, so I think she did right at 20 years.
Wow.
I believe it was right at 20 years, and she ended up retiring out of the Army because she went over to Army after like 10 or 12 in the Air Force. And then my dad retired out of the Army after I think 23 years.
How long did you serve?
I was in 3.5.
Wow. That's a long time. Women
It
soldiers.
is.
Yeah, my aunt was actually in the army, and I didn't even know the whole time I've even been running the segment. And she goes, well, I served. I'm like, no, I did not actually know that. So I had her send me a picture so I could put it into because I told you, I love doing these interviews, but I love the ending credits the way I have that set up, just because I get to put everybody's pictures in and with the music. And I think it's so cool to sit there and watch all of those
Mhm.
pictures. I love that. It's
It's funny. I
awesome.
went through some old photos that were sent to me, and I found they take your picture and boot. Before, I think it was even before we had our name tags, and just how young and how you know
Gung ho.
totally clueless I was in that photo, and it was comical to look back and say, oh my god, look at that, it didn't even look like the same person.
You'll have to send that to me so I could put
Yeah,
it
I'll
in
have to
the
find it and
slide.
scan it again, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Because I love when people send me their pictures. I told everybody, I was like, people are going to start hating the ending credits because it's eventually going to be 3, 4 songs, but
Right.
it's good unless I can configure it, as far as the credits into maybe something I can do on the website, playing the music and just letting them roll through the pictures instead of killing people with the credits at the end.
Right.
But it is what it is. I like it, it's
Yeah, I
great.
took a look at it. It looked pretty good.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if they called you right now, just right now, randomly, and said, hey, we need you to come back in, would you go?
It depends on what they need me to do. It really does. If it was to go back and do the same thing I did before, then I don't know if I would. I enjoy working in film, and
Yeah.
if it was down to, I've looked into civilian jobs in the military, and I thought maybe at one point that might be an option, and then bringing in like the media side of things. But they pretty much got that under control. They've got I've got friends that got out of the military that were camera operators and that did all the production side stuff, and so they would probably call someone else way before me, unfortunately.
So how long have you been in the film industry?
I started when I was a kid. I did some acting when I was a kid, and then I moved around a little bit after Texas, and then um, Atlanta. I came to Atlanta in late 2011, and within like 6 months, I was working on film sets as an actor,
Mm.
and got slowly transitioned into casting by It was a son of one of my mother's friends. He was casting a show here in Atlanta, and kind of got me in doing some of the casting call stuff with them and helping out, on days where they were busy. And then it was within a couple months, I was full time on a show. I was doing a feature film and running the casting department on it. So I did background casting, I want to say for like 4 or 5 years. And then I started doing principal and background. And then I started getting more into commercials and was doing casting for complete commercial campaigns. Um, before I started transitioning more towards the UPM side and producing.
So, do you have a favorite project that you've done? Any funny stories? I
Well, I
like
mean,
hearing stories.
I've worked on a lot of really cool projects. I loved watching how they work with the Fast franchise, for instance. Like we did a whole week of shooting just to get feet on pedals and hands shifting gears. A
Hmm.
whole week.
Yep.
We they created these different scenarios, like when the orange Lamborghini goes through the ice. That was done in a parking lot in Norcross, in Georgia. They just ran it down a ramp into the water, and they used part of that and CG'd everything together.
Wow.
Um, the prison scenes where they had the riot scenes with Dwayne and Jason Statham's characters. That was all built inside of a warehouse. They had a full 2-story prison built inside the warehouse, and then the exteriors were built on the outside of the same building.
Wow.
So it was pretty cool to see how that all came together. But my favorite one so far has been I worked with a company called Triple Horse Studios in Covington, and they did a commercial campaign and a short film for the Museum of the Bible in Washington. And I cast 100% of that thing, and we created the Declaration of Independence signing, the Million Man March and Martin Luther King, Civil War reenactment scenes and stuff. That was probably the most fun. Um,
Wow.
just simply because of the scope of everything. And that's I've been given compliments on my casting and things in the past, and I had several people on that one walk up to me and they're like, this was absolutely the perfect casting. The only show that ever did it better was the Andy Griffith Show. And I was like, I love that show growing up, so that was a
Yeah.
huge compliment to me.
Yeah. That's an older one. I've talked to quite a few people that have worked in the Fast and the Furious movies because I love stunts. I mean, CGI is cool, but I'm one of them type of people where I ride motorcycles. I'm huge on motorcycles and stick shifts and stuff like that. But I love the stunts and the way that they're done. And when they sat here and they tell me their stories about the stunts, I'm just like, hell yeah, I would have loved to do that, you
Oh
know?
yeah, I've got a lot of friends that are stunt people and stunt coordinators in the industry, and I've done some car and some driving stunts myself, and I absolutely love it. In fact, I'm SAG after 4 stunts.
Hell yeah. I mean, that would just be so much fun, you know? And I know there's a lot of female stunt people, stunt women out there, but there should be more, I believe.
Mm,
There should be a
I
lot
agree.
more stunts for females.
Well, one of the people that I really one of the first people I did stunts for in Atlanta, and I was just on a support team for a movie that James Franco was directing. Jennifer Badger here in Atlanta, she's a fantastic stunt woman. I mean, amazing stunt coordinator. Um, and it was really great getting to work with her and a couple other people. A friend of mine named Jessica, she's a stunt woman, and I've met a lot of people over the years, and I think it is transitioning. I think there's a lot more female stunts now than there were back in, say, like the 80s and 90s. Even though like Jessica, or not Jessica, Jennifer she's been in the industry for years now, and has done really cool things, from Charlie's Angels to the Will Ferrell NASCAR movie. I can't even think of the name of that one, but she's done some huge films. And
Talladega Nights.
Talladega Nights, yeah, she
Yeah.
was in that one too, I believe. And but people like her actually, she's amazing. She's an amazing, and her husband is an amazing stunt coordinator as well. They both work really hard in the industry, and you know just like everyone else. One of my closest friends is Mark D'Alessandro. He was Stallone for like 27 to 30 movies or something like that, and coordinated all of his stuff. And I have a lot of respect for those people because they put their bodies through
Hell.
horrors to get
Yeah.
through some of these films. And he always tells me about the scene in Cliffhanger where he had to jump across the cliff and grab onto a ladder. And he's like, it was real. Like if you missed, you died. Like he almost ripped his shoulder out doing that stunt. And some of the stuff that they used to do was just pretty Wild West kind of stuff. So you got to respect that.
Yeah, I mean, you know what makes me so mad is when you know that they're real. You've been there, you've seen it done yourself, but then you got people that are saying, "Oh, that's CGI." No,
No,
it's not, you know?
I've been completely lit on fire before, and I know what it's like. Having just some gel and a thin suit on to protect you.
I don't
So,
know if that'd probably be the one I would probably stay clear of. I could do the driving, I could do the motorcycles and some of the other crazy shit, but I don't think I would let somebody set me on fire,
well, believe
you
it or
know?
not, you're actually safer being lit on fire than you are in some of the car stunts. So,
Really?
yeah, oh
Well,
yeah,
I don't
there's
know. I'd
whole
still be worried.
whole safety teams surround you. There's CO2 fire extinguishers, and they've got it pretty much ironed down. They know how to do it. So,
I just hope they wouldn't be like, "Oh, let her burn," you know,
right,
walk away. See you later. We're going to
yeah,
dinner.
yeah. We'll check on her when we get back.
Right? I'm telling you. Well, I mean, you never know. You could piss somebody off and they might, just let you burn a
Mhm.
little bit longer than you should have been. But I know they wouldn't. I know they wouldn't because they have to be very careful with the stuff that they do on these film sets.
Well, the amount of safety that they have on sets now, it's we were doing scenes where we had guys jumping out of a train, and we had pads on the ground outside, and my job on that one was literally to sit there and watch them as they went through the scene to make sure they didn't fall, because if they did, I had to be able to stop them from rolling
Yeah.
because it rolled downhill slightly. And I literally was sitting there getting paid to watch them act, and in the event that they fell out of the train or tripped or something, so I could jump and grab them.
Wow.
That's this extent on safety is, even over the last 8 years, 10 years, it's gotten extremely high.
Yeah.
We had a stuntman in Sonoya here. He fell off of a scaffolding, and it was a controlled fall, but something happened, and he ended up missing the pad and passing because of it. And then with Sarah Jones on the train tracks with the camera department, a lot of focus has been put into safety, and this, even with the rush shooting, a lot of people are like, really, really hell bent on making sure sets are as safe as possible, because you shouldn't have to worry about going to work to film a movie and dying because something went wrong.
That's true. He didn't roll underneath the train or anything, right? When that happened, when he fell.
No, it was like on, from what I understood, he was on kind of a scissor lift, and it was a fall. They were catching him falling to a pad, but
Yeah.
he ended up falling underneath whatever the platform was where there was no padding and hitting the ground. I
Ooh.
don't. I haven't heard a lot about the details of it. That was very little that I did hear, because it happened 15 minutes from my house.
Wow.
Yeah, it happened pretty much right down the road.
So what's the craziest thing that you've done as far as
As far as stunts, well, I used to do a lot of motorcycle work, and I've done extremely high speed wheelies and things like that, 120 plus miles an hour. And probably the craziest thing I've ever done was I had to drift a semi trailer in a scene, and they do it in a way that there's a secondary set of wheels that drops in the back, which actually picks the wheels, the axles off the ground, but it's still hard to control because
yeah.
there was somebody else steering that, so it wasn't really in my control. I was just driving a straight line, but that was kind of a nerve-wracking one.
Yeah,
um
because I mean it flipping. My brother actually has, well, one of my brothers, he has the CDLs and driving all the gears and stuff. They have to keep up with you, right? Underneath of there if they're driving something else while you're doing it, right?
yeah, and if there had been a vehicle, this was more of like an accident scene where the truck came skidding to a stop,
Uh,
but anything can go wrong. And
yeah.
I've seen brakes completely fail out on trucks for no apparent reason. So you're driving a vehicle that weighs 30,000 to 40,000 pounds,
Yeah.
you know towards groups of people, even if they're not there, it's still you can do a lot of destruction. And if you roll a truck, a lot of times they say it's almost a death sentence if you flip a semi on the driver's side,
Yeah.
because you're hitting the ground as well.
Yep.
So there's a high potential of injury. I've rolled cars, I've jumped things on motorcycles and cars, and it's each stunt has its own level of risk, and a lot of people are they push for a while. They're like, if you don't feel safe, you need to say something. And back in the day, films used to be more of, if you say something, then you're just going to get replaced.
Yeah.
So a lot of people got hurt because they didn't feel like they could say something because they were afraid of losing their jobs. And when you're making 1,000 a day, 3-4,000 a week. If you're on a weekly, you're still making about three. Back in the day, it was lower than that. But a lot of people are forced to feel like they can't say anything.
Wow.
But
That's crazy. We see me. Well, I'll tell you something about myself. My brother and my grandmother, this was back in the old years. I was young. She had like this property where she had like a junkyard set up,
mm,
you know, and there were school buses and all kind. I think that's where I get my craziness from is my brother. And we would get on the dirt bikes and she had all these school buses and we jump them all through the cars and everything. And I mean, me and my brother, we've done some crazy shit. I'm not even gonna lie. I think
that's
that's
pretty
why I'm so
crazy.
ballsy, you know. It's fun though. It's so much fun. That's why I kind of prefer that, over the CGI because it's fun. To me, it's fun.
Well, anytime you can shoot practically, it's not only cheaper, but I think it looks better.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there are some things that just are, they're not plausible. You
Yeah.
have to use CG at that point. So,
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah. Kind of like the Thor movie where they're spinning up through the
mhm.
universe.
Yeah, the
Yeah, you're
Marvel
not going
type
to find
stuff.
that in the
And
real world.
now we've done scenes where we did CG backgrounds, and we had people flying on wires and doing things like that. And then we just paint out the wires and put it in the background because we did it all on green screens. But even those things, it doesn't take, but somebody could fall and die with a 6 foot drop.
Oh, yeah.
So the safety factor is always there. There's always a level of danger present anytime you do anything like that. So and we had one thing I shot for a friend of mine. It was a teaser for his feature, and we had people flying around on wires in a warehouse. It was pretty intense, putting that kind of thing together and making sure everybody, not only didn't crash into each other, but nothing could fail and
Yeah.
cause them to fall.
Wow. It, yeah, I mean, it's dangerous. It is dangerous. So, getting back to on-set soldiers,
Yep.
is that worldwide or are you just doing that in Atlanta or you want to expand
We're
that?
we started in Atlanta, but the program, because it's a 501c3, we can run the program pretty much anywhere. I want to eventually change not change, but spread it to any major film city. So we could do it in LA, we could do it in New York, we could do it in Louisiana, Las Vegas,
Ohio.
Ohio, Kentucky. There's
Yeah.
because it's not only benefiting the veterans, but it's also creating qualified, trained film production staff for that area.
Yeah.
So, like when I started with film in Atlanta, we were running. You were lucky if you could run maybe 8 or 10 sets at one time and have enough people to crew those sets. Now, the last time I checked, it was about a year ago. It was like 42 productions at a time going here in Georgia. So to increase the amount of productions that you can do in an area, you have to increase the amount of talent that you have to be able to take those jobs. So it's a huge benefit to not only the veterans, but to the communities that they're working in. Because with film comes income and
Mhm.
taxes and direct spending to a region where it benefits more employees, more there's a lot of pluses to it.
Yeah,
So
that would
eventually,
be a
yeah,
great idea. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
maybe we could
moving,
talk about a couple things.
yeah, yeah, definitely. So I mean, the
Ohio is
program,
growing pretty big. It is slowly, but the tax incentives are getting better, so there's more things that are coming, which is
I
great.
filmed some commercials in Ohio and Kentucky, and
Yeah.
there's been some stuff up there I've been able to be a part of.
The
So yeah,
bipolar
it's
weather.
exactly. I grew up in a cold state, so it doesn't bother me. But like it was probably 40 something degrees at my house 5 days ago, and it was 70 last night.
Yeah, it's like 50 something here today.
Mm-hmm.
I
It's
don't
pretty
really
nice
get to
now,
leave my house much, but yeah, I know it feels kind of good out there.
right? But yeah,
But
I
cold
mean, if
weather.
if we can get to the point where we can spread, I would like to see 2 to 3 programs a year at each location, which also increases the
Yeah.
ability for the company to become self-sustaining financially. Because as we produce content, I've got partners with distribution that are with like Amazon, Netflix, and Hulu. We've got
Yeah.
theatrical distribution with Warner Brothers, Paramount, and Universal. So through the partners, I've got an ability to distro whatever it is we're doing, and then as those start to make money in viewing or ticket sales or streaming, then it directly ports back into the nonprofit, and then at some point we become a self-sustaining entity, and we are running on our own funds. We no longer have to depend on will Coca-Cola give us something, or will this company be able to give us something this year. And
Yeah.
it generates income not only for us but for the veterans too, because the more films that we do, the more we're able to bring back people that have graduated to work with the people that are in the program, get them trained, get them on the job, experience and resume lines, because in
Yeah.
film it's all about your resume. So they
That's
leave
true.
with a training certificate saying, yes, I've worked all this. They've experienced a multitude of departments, decided which one they like the best and what one they want to pursue. And then they can actually take that career forward because they leave with a resume that says, I already worked on a film.
Yeah.
So it's a bonus. It's a win-win all the way around. And the company is generating income off of these projects, and we're able to keep doing what we want to do and spread and do what you're talking about in different cities.
Do you accept on your website? Because I didn't get to go all the way through that website. Is there a donation link where you guys can
There
accept
is, I think
donations?
I have to fix it, but more of what we are doing with donations now is a one-on-one. I
Mhm.
want to talk to the person that's wanting to donate so that they can understand exactly what we do. If they have questions they can ask, and
Yeah.
then I could personally email a donation receipt to them.
Yeah.
Um, we've done it in the past where we went through. There's different websites that you can get into as a nonprofit and attract donors, but a lot of the time we've done local businesses because it impacts locally first.
Yeah.
So we've had a bunch of small businesses that decided, like when we did the Thanksgiving event, they wanted to be a part of that, and then we put all their links on the website, so all the donors actually have a hyperlink to their business.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of personalized attention I like to give people when they're coming and trying to help us do something. I want to help them do something.
That's exactly how I am. I always take whatever links I can find if they don't have a link tree, and I'll try to get as many as I can, on the page. And then the resources for the soldiers also. I've got that with God. I don't even know how many resources I have on there now for the soldiers, but I love doing that. And even if, they're not wanting to be actors as far as your program, there are other jobs that they can be doing, there are cameras,
Well,
lighting,
that's what we
all
train
of
is
that.
actually the
Yeah.
production side of things. So they want to
Yeah.
work in the camera department or sound or set deck, props, whatever.
Yep.
We're teaching them about the behind the scenes work so they can come in and they can actually experience it, decide what works best for them with their skill set. And then we can help them with, how do I get in the union? What union is right for me?
Yep.
How do I find the work? Where is it listed? Where is it posted? And then we have all the resources to be able to not only train them with the equipment that they would be using on a real set, but then how to take that training and actually transform that into a full career.
Yeah. I love it. I love that. That's awesome. Seriously, because that puts a lot of people who don't know what they're going to do when they get out of the military. It gives them a job, you know?
It gives you an opportunity to
Yeah.
maybe access something that wouldn't be normally available, because film is is a very lucrative job, because you get to do things that most jobs don't. And like every week is something different. Every film is something different.
Yeah.
But getting in is still somewhat cliquish. If you don't know somebody, how do you get in?
Yeah.
So we're creating that. Who do they know? Well, they know us. They know all the department heads that I bring in to teach them. And all those department heads are people that actually run film sets that can hire them. So they're getting a network of people. And then we have a Facebook page where everybody that goes through the program is then injected into this Facebook group. So let's say we have say 2024, we have a program. And then in 2027, that same person that graduated in 24 is on a set saying, I need 5 more people for my lighting department or electric department, or I need 5 more
Yeah.
gaff or grips or whatever. They can put it in the group first and find out if anybody else that's gone through the program is available, and then it becomes a network and an internal kind of job board.
That is great. I love it. I really do. You're awesome for doing that.
Appreciate that.
You're awesome, man. I'm telling you. Okay, so before we close this out, let's tell everybody what the website is, even though it's on the resource.
It's being rebuilt right now, but it's onsetsoldiers.org.
Okay.
That is the official web address for it. I'm in the process of trying to figure out a way to make it more streamlined, I guess.
Yeah.
Because some of the stuff that we were doing before, I don't know how someone will be able to bring it back. So the golf tournaments and the fishing with veterans and different programs we wanted to run, I'm kind of scraping it down and starting again, because after COVID and after a long period of time, I almost feel like I need to rebrand in a way, and then do kind of a PR push on it. I've got a company that we just recently started in Vegas with some partners, and we're looking at that as the priority to get some projects going, and then trying to tie in how we could bring in the nonprofit at some point, and then create a West Coast kind of a presence.
Yeah.
So right now, I mean, we are on Facebook. We had a Twitter page. It's really kind of go time to get that stuff all fired back up now that we actually have, film is back to normal. We're past the strikes, we're past COVID,
Yeah.
and we can get some stuff done.
I knew what you're saying about the changing the website. I always change mine. I think people get confused sometimes because I'll get these ideas that just flow in my head after I've already launched something. And then I'm like, well, damn, it could be better. Then I'll go in and start changing. And then I know that they're having a problem.
Right.
But, I want it to be great, not just a little bit. I want it to be great. So these
And we're
ideas.
constantly evolving too as
Yeah.
a program. So, pages will change. We may add in different things and at different times. And we try to keep, events up to date, things that we're doing. I even had at one point that, and I'm still doing it now, but local veterans, elderly veterans that can't get out and mow their lawn. I went out and spent $10,000 on lawn equipment just so that I could send the gear. If I had to do it myself, I could go and I could, help that veteran out by mowing their lawn and getting their yard in shape. Most of those guys are men and women are on fixed income, so they're not able to hire lawn services. And, if you get sick and you can't do it for 2-3 months, then you start getting fined by your city and your county.
Yeah.
So being able to step in and just say, all right, I got this, don't worry about it, we're going to get you into code compliance, that kind of thing is something
That's
else we're
awesome.
trying to add. Any way to help, whether it be we go and partner with a local grocery store and provide holiday meals or something, lots of things outside of film, but still veteran oriented.
Every little bit counts.
Absolutely.
Every little bit counts. That's the way it is, man.
So,
all right, you guys, we are definitely saying thank you, Jeff, for being on today, and we'll get your program, definitely push that to as many people as we can, because I
appreciate that.
love that. I love it. And we're going to tell everybody, thank you for watching. Thank you to all our veterans. We love you guys. Have a good one. Bye.